Bună ziua! Sunt fericită să vă salut pe fiecare. Suntem la un nou episod la podcastul De la om la om, unde discutăm diferite subiecte sociale din diferite puncte de vedere. Astăzi, ca invitat, îl avem pe William Franklin Moris al IV-lea. Bună, William!
Bună seara.
Well, today this is our guest. It's William. He will be our guest today. It's a podcast named De la om la om, like in English would be from person to person, from people to people, where we talk different social problems from different sides, points. And today William will tell us his story. For the beginning, William, I'll ask you to introduce yourself, how you would like to be known by people.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. And first off, Lena, thank you so much for having me today. I'm looking forward to talking about some of my work here. My name is Will Morris. I'm from the United States, from Georgia specifically. I'm the program director for the refugee program to aid Ukrainians with the American NGO called Conscience International. It's an NGO based in Atlanta, Georgia, near where I'm from. I have a master's degree in migration studies. I'm hoping to get a PhD later. I'm very interested in topics related to migration, refugee issues, refugee integration, and how to support local organizations doing their really important work to help in humanitarian crises, both in Ukraine, but also worldwide. These are topics I'm really passionate about and that I hope to continue working with throughout my career. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'm from a small town. I guess I should mention that. Very small town in Georgia. So it's been definitely an experience. Life has taken me from China to Japan to England, Zambia, and now in Romania. So it's been a very full life, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next and continuing my work here.
You can mention everything that you think is important, like I like to read or everything. So it's up to you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I love to read. No question about that. Yeah. In
It
terms
was
of
just an example, a simple example. Like everything, if you feel it's important, you can mention. It's about you.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, in terms of things that I enjoy doing, I love reading. I love writing. I'm really passionate about music, and I really just love being in different cultures, different countries, experiencing different ways of life. We have an incredible world, and I know the focus of your podcast is people to people, and that's something I'm really passionate about as well. Is just seeing how different people live their lives in different places. And I keep a pretty active journal. I write a lot about my experiences, both for myself, and then sometimes I put those online as well on a personal blog. And I love to swim. I actually just got back from swimming a couple hours ago.
Oh, nice. So please tell us, is this your first program? As I understand, it's a program made by yourself, or you had some help? It's your first program, or you have some before experience about?
Well, this is my first program working with Conscience International. I was hired back in May to be a volunteer, and then I worked part-time remotely throughout the summer, and then I got actually hired to be full-time staff during the fall. So I've just started about 2 months ago. I moved to Romania for full-time, but I've done work in this field before. I had an internship with International Organization for Migration, the UN Migration Agency in Zambia right before coming here. And in college, I did a lot of educational programs. And then Conscience International, the organization I work for, has done these kind of projects for more than 30 years around the world. And then Lavis Cruce, our local partner, has done this kind of work for a while to help people in difficult circumstances.
So it's your first experience, if I understand right.
Yeah, well, it's my first. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my first experience. It's my first experience with this NGO. Yes.
Okay, so maybe you will tell us, like, working with refugees, what obstacles did you have met, or maybe some challenges because it's a hard work, and I think on psychological side, on even on like physical, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think for me the most difficult thing has been to find my niche, to find how can I and the organization I work for, how can we help people in a way that other people aren't doing. There's a lot of support for refugees, but there's also a lot of redundancy of efforts. You see a lot of people who are doing much of the same thing, a lot of organizations doing the same thing, and there are other needs that aren't being met, but organizations aren't providing those sufficiently, maybe. So that's been the difficulty. Luckily, working with La Rescruce, because they're a local organization in Romania with a lot of Ukrainian people who work with them as volunteers, they really had their ear to the ground in terms of recognizing what the real problems are and how to solve them. So thankfully, that's made this problem much easier than it would have been if I had just come in without a local partner to work with.
Okay, so what niche did you find?
Well, right now it's actually teaching English, which was not what I was expecting when I came, and was not what I did back in May either when I was a volunteer. But we found that it's amazingly English is really in very large demand among the Ukrainian refugees, and I'd be happy to talk about why I think that's the case. But basically, I came here and I asked, how can I be of service? And we really came upon that. And I've done other work as well, like I've helped with some construction projects. I've worked on the border some. But so far, I'd say the main project I'm doing is teaching English classes for Ukrainian refugees.
It's very nice. So you were here from May. How was your adaptation to Romania, your integration here? How did you feel first time when you came here?
That's a really good question, Elena, because to be honest, it's been interesting both working to help refugees integrate, but also being a migrant of sorts myself here, and it is a very different culture. Especially, I didn't come straight here from America. I came here from Africa. So to go from America to Africa to Romania was a big culture shock. And I think the main thing is just finding friends, finding local people who can kind of, I guess, translate the culture for me, so to speak, to help kind of talk me through how to navigate, has been really helpful. The church, I attend church at La Rescruce every week, and they're wonderful people, and they've been very kind to me. And I think if it weren't for them, it would have been a much harder adjustment.
Yeah, because I was imagining it's not just work, it's double work because you're also like strange here, a foreigner, so you have to adapt yourself and to help others to adapt here through teaching English. So it was very challenging, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And it's rewarding as well. I've enjoyed it, but it is tiring. I found that, but thankfully, I'm very motivated to help Ukrainians. I'm very inspired by them, and I think any challenges I'm facing to adjust here are very small, and I chose to move here, whereas they did not. So I think about that a lot, and that inspires me to keep on working and hopefully helping some.
Maybe something, I don't know, you discover in our culture and you like it, you enjoy, you will take something with you back home or in other countries you will travel for sure.
Absolutely, and I really do like Romania a lot. I actually, my favorite band is Subcarpats. I've been listening to them nonstop. I love their music, and I really enjoy Romanian music. And I think I really value Romanian sense of community. I think people here are very tied to their social networks are very strong, and people really spend a lot of time in their social groups in a way that's a little different than what I'm used to back in the States. So yeah, I think those and many other things I will bring with me going forward for sure.
Well, I'm not sure if you'll be here for winter, so you can discover our winter tradition for Christmas, for New Year, because we also have some specific tradition. Did you manage to discover some of our traditions, how we celebrate?
Yeah, some. I've gone to a few churches, both the one that I attend and also some Orthodox churches as well. And that's the Orthodox tradition is something very new to me. So seeing all the traditions tied to that, all the artwork, all of the rituals are is very interesting to me and very new. And I haven't witnessed this, but I heard something about when people get married, or I'm not really sure if you get married or what, but you throw rice at people at some time of the year. Can you explain that to me? Because someone was saying that.
Yes, I think I saw also when I could song, because I'm totally blind for those who's watching first time us. And it's a tradition when people get married, they go out through the church and people throw with rice or different cereals. It's like for having wealthy, good life, like everything to be okay.
Yeah,
Something
right.
like
Yeah, I
this.
guess that's it. Yeah.
You don't have something similar?
I think we might. I've never seen it in any weddings I've gone to, but it sounds vaguely familiar to me. But no, normally I haven't ever seen that in a wedding in the States. No.
So here you even experienced it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I attended a wedding actually yesterday, and I saw it. Yeah,
Oh, nice. You have an active life here. It's very like good. It's an example for others, because some people when they're getting to something new, they're really, I don't know, closing themselves and very hard to adapt. Maybe you have some advice for others how to adapt much easily, because you travel a lot, you easily get in touch with people, you're open.
Hmm. Well, I think definitely I move around a lot, and in my experience, it can be very difficult to adapt, especially the first few weeks. It's almost I call it like this processing period that I always have. Even I've moved around quite a bit to many different places, but I always get it still, where it's almost like I'm in shock. Like my mind and my body's processing the change. But I find that just forcing myself to get out of the house and just walking around, using my eyes and my ears to just experience what's around me, and just talking to people I meet on the street or in shops. I find that helps me adapt much easier. Just having that discipline to not isolate myself, even when I want to, and I do want to. I think it's natural. I think most people, like you said, do. But just forcing myself to get out is what helps. And of course, also making close friends and trying my best to learn the local language and customs, and respecting the differences and expecting that I'm also not from here and that's okay. Um, and yeah, I would say that's how I do it.
Like, I think respect is very important everywhere, like even in love, because a love with no respect cannot survive. So it's
That's right.
it's the main in everything. So what about our food? Do you have something that have is your crush in food, or you're still experiencing and getting adapted to it?
Yeah, well, I don't eat meat except for fish. And at first that was a problem because a lot of Romanian food has meat in it. But actually, I found that it's actually a very easy culture to be a vegetarian in because all your restaurants have post menus.
Yes,
I guess
yes.
so that makes it actually very easy for me. So once I discovered that, I haven't had any problems. And I love crema de sopa. What is it? Sopa de crema de lente. And what are those things? It's they're wrapped in cabbage. It's like they look kind of like grape leaves in Greece, but they're I think cabbage leaves with some kind of filling
Cabbage
inside.
rolls, no? Cabbage rolls.
Yeah, yeah. So there's some
Usually,
vegetarian ones that are great.
usually they're with meat, but we also do vegetarians with mushrooms, when it's
Yeah,
when you're
yeah,
not allowed to eat meat. So I
yeah.
don't know. Did you try our mamaliga? Did you like it?
Oh, I have. Yep. I've tried Mama Liga. I love that. Oh, and I have to mention kovrig. I eat like 3 or 4 kovrig a day, which someone told me like they can't believe that. Like, how are you not more fat than you are? And I don't know, but I ate so many of those from Petru and Luca. So yeah, I mean, Romanian food, I have to say, is I like it quite a bit. Yeah.
Have you ever tasted before so many various pickled vegetables? Because we have a lot of pickled vegetables. I'm not sure in America are so many of them.
No,
Like we
definitely
have
not.
fruits, vegetables that are pickled, and
Yeah. Yeah, it's very unique for me. In fact, yesterday I was walking down in the city center and I saw someone had a pickled watermelon, which I've never seen that in my life. They were selling.
it's very tasty. Did you try?
It, no, I didn't. I should next. It looked a little bit it looked a little bit strange to me, but maybe it tastes better than it looks. It sounds like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was also in a project, and some people from Italy said, "Why it's so pickled? You can eat it fresh." But they were from Sardinia or somewhere where it's always warm, and like here
Yeah.
it's not always warm. And watermelons, like one time they are already spoiled, and you cannot use them. So this, I think, was a tradition to have food on winter because you cannot have fresh vegetable and fruit. So
Ah,
our nation created this way to survive on winter period. So it's also a part of tradition and our culture.
that's interesting. Yeah, that it's amazing. I found that whenever you go places, there's normally some kind of rational reason for why there's these cultural habits. You just have to find out what it is. So that makes a lot of sense. It gets really cold here, so you pickle things, preserve them. I didn't think about that, but that makes good sense. Yeah.
Yes. So maybe some cultural differences because I remember when I have been in United States, we work on travel program. For example, usually you use the word nervous for excited. We use nervous for stressed, and sometimes was like miscommunication when we're speaking like that person is nervous. No, it's not. Why you use it like it's stressed? And till we find it out what was the problem, because it's some of miscommunication of, I think it's about cultural difference because there are different continents. So maybe
Yeah.
have you met some situations like this of
Oh,
miscommunication because like
yeah. Well, I mean, for one thing, I mean, I speak pretty terrible Romanian. I'm trying to learn. So whenever I speak Romanian, I think there's some miscommunication just inherent. But also, and I have to say, Romanians speak excellent English on average, especially for a country where English isn't the first language. So I have no difficulty getting around with English, really. But going beyond just words, there's a very difference culturally in terms of people's facial expressions. Here, people are much more reserved, and in America, the stereotype, and I think it's largely true, is that we smile all the time, that we're very, very extroverted with strangers, and that's not true everywhere, but there's a lot of truth to it. And here, it's very different. So it took me a while to get used to that. Yeah.
yeah, well, people are just maybe are okay. That doesn't mean they're like serious or upset or mad. They're just okay. It's morning,
Right.
it's cold. I don't wanna smile. I'm going
Yeah.
to work. So
Yeah.
it's also a big difference. It's like you can feel it on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Some
went to
others, yes,
oh, sorry.
some other
Um,
situations maybe.
yeah. Well, other situations, um, not that I can really think of. I mean, I'm sure there are, but none that come to mind. Um,
Okay, like this one was the most important, like because I'm sure I also have more of them in America, but this one like was for sure that marked me somehow.
Yeah, well, I think people, I think, again, I really think it's just the fact that I smile so much, because I'm used to that culturally. I think that is a big difference. So, yeah, I think that people sometimes don't know what to do with that, maybe. And for me, I sometimes think people are upset because they're not expressive. But like you said, they're not necessarily upset. They're just okay. Yeah, that's what stands out to me.
Okay, so you said your Romanian is not so good, but it's okay. We can speak a little bit in Romanian so people will hear how you speak. Like it will be some simple questions like Bună, Will.
Bună.
Ce faci?
Bine, bine.
Îți place la noi?
Dar bine.
Îți place la noi?
Da.
Always yes, yes, like an yes man. Any question, yes.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
my that I just sort of say da to everything if I don't understand it.
okay. So like maybe some situations while learning people English, teaching people English, refugees. Some situations like I don't know, impressed you positively or maybe not so positive. Maybe you can share something with us.
Sure. Well, I'm constantly inspired by my Ukrainian students, and I teach some Romanian students as well in my courses at La Rescruce. But my students in general are just they're pretty incredible. They're always just positive and excited to learn. I mean, every assignment I give them, they go above and beyond for, and it's not at all difficult getting them to do their work. Um, I think for me, the teaching these English courses sort of serves two functions. One is it gives a skill, and I think you have to think with refugees, they really want a skill that's transferable because I think psychologically they're not really sure what the future holds. So they want something that they can use if they go back home or they stay here or they go somewhere else. And English does that. But it also really, I think, these classes serve to offer community, to give people a place to come and meet new people, to interact. And so probably my favorite memory was this couple in my course invited me and my co-teacher to get drinks. We got some beers and to eat salted fish heads from Odessa, which was a definitely a cultural experience. And we played cards for about 2 hours. And we were speaking in English, speaking in Russian, Ukrainian, and they were teaching me Russian. I was teaching and Ukrainian. I was teaching them English while we were playing. And I think what I'm most positively inspired by is that these courses really just provide an opportunity to make those kind of person to person connections, to really connect and relate to each other. So yeah, I mean, I guess to answer your question, I've been really really pleased to see that these courses aren't just for the skill; they also provide community as well.
I think it's very like motivated when you do a work and you are involved totally in it, and this work does not like go away. Like people are want, like it's appreciated what you do.
Yeah, and they're so appreciative. Every class they thank me and I mean, yeah, absolutely. And and I'm happy to do it. I'm inspired by them. So it's really it's a great situation.
Maybe some advice for refugees, for your students, or for others who will be watching us to learn English or maybe to do something else.
Yeah, well, I guess to learn English, I would just say make sure to have a routine. I think if you read for 10 or 15 minutes a day, if you watch, find a series that you love on Netflix and make sure to stick with that. I really think with any language, you just need to use it. You need to, it's not about memorizing a list of vocabulary words. It's about actually using it and experiencing it as it's spoken naturally. As for just sort of generally speaking, I mean, I'm not really sure I'm not sure about advice, but I would just say, that the whole world's inspired by what y'all are going through, and just keep on having hope that things will get better, and thank you for your strength. Yeah, I mean, that really, I don't think I can offer advice, but I can say that.
I totally agree with you. So, if we're speaking about languages now, and we have spoken about respect, I want to ask you, what does motivate you to learn Romanian? Because a lot of people go to other countries and they just live there all their lives, and they don't learn this language. And what does motivate you? So maybe you'll be an example for others also to learn the language in the country they're staying.
Well, I think you just heard that my Romanian's pretty terrible. So
Yes, but you desire to learn it. It's not about oh, you want to know it, and what does motivate you?
Yeah, well, let me try to answer this question in very bad. Let me try.
Okay.
Doresc să învăț limba română pentru că foarte îmi place română, foarte îmi place oamenii de România, și cred că dacă stai în o țară, trebuie învăț limba de țară, pentru că let me switch to English. That's about the limit of what I know right now. But Nelson Mandela one time said that if you speak the second language of someone, if you speak someone's second language to them, you're speaking to their brain. But if you speak their first language, if you speak the language they speak natively, you're speaking to their heart and to their soul. And so whenever I live in a place, it's both because I respect the country that I want to learn their language, but also it's because I think to have a real connection, it's good to at least show that you're trying to learn the language and to speak the basic language, because it really opens up a whole new avenue for connection and for building a relationship with people.
Yes, it's true, and I haven't heard before the words of Nelson Mandela, but they're true and nice, and I also agree with you. But I also think it gives you new opportunities and more advantages to everyone when you know more languages, because every language has its benefits. So I don't think it's something bad, especially if you live in another country or you're planning to live there, not to learn the language.
That's right. And I can say happily that I'm still lacking in a lot of areas of Romanian, but I'm very good at ordering confrunta. I can do that quite fluently. So, knowing the local language can definitely be useful. But yeah, no, I think you're right. And yeah, and again, I'm very impressed with Romanians' English. And also, I think Romanians love to speak English. Everyone likes to speak it with me, it seems. Maybe because my Romanian's so bad, but also
No.
I think people here have a genuine interest in the language.
Maybe it also we like to discover, new cultures, new countries, new people. So like you said, English also gives you a lot of opportunities, on international side.
That's right.
Everywhere you can travel, you can speak. It's a big chance that person from that country at least somebody knows a little bit of English and can help you. So it's nothing bad.
That's right. Well, I've worked a good bit at borders, both with Ukraine and Romania, but also when I was in Africa. And you find that if people don't speak each other's first language, like if the border guard with the person coming through the border they don't speak the first language, they immediately try to speak English. And generally that works out. So yeah, it's a very useful skill. And it, like you said, it opens up a lot of doors and opportunities.
Yes. Maybe you'll give us some suggestion of some, I don't know, movies or books or something that people can watch and can be also motivated to do a lot of work with refugees or to help somebody else.
You mean movies for learning English, or just kind of generally?
What do you recommend? What do you think it's useful? It can be also like personal motivation or everything you think that is useful.
Well, I for me, my approach to teaching English and really anything educational is that it's important not to tell people what they should enjoy, but rather to lead them to find for themselves the thing that they enjoy. So that is to say that for me, there are certain shows that I enjoy that I'd recommend, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Friends, things like that are very great for learning everyday English. But I think what really matters is to inspire the students to find something that they're really passionate about, because then they'll want to learn by themselves. So really, I think what matters is it's a case-by-case kind of thing. If the person has an interest in something, I would recommend them, to watch movies about that interest. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, you recommended something for learning English. Now I would like you to recommend something that will inspire people to help others, to go to work with NGOs, to do some social work.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a lot of great movies out there, but I would say, I think it's one of those things. It can't really come from a movie or a book. I would say it has to come internally. I think if people are trying, I don't think people should do something just because they think they have to or they should. I think they should do it because they want to. And to do that, I think it really requires people to talk to those and to people who are having difficulties in their lives, and to go out and just hear about people's experiences. So I would say really just trying to broaden your horizon and trying to meet people who might have difficulties in their experiences is really, I think, what I would recommend for people to do.
Well, yeah, like your advice is to go to a practice, no theory about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think theory is important. Don't get me wrong, but I think that, I think practice is important, and I think just talking to people about their difficulties, and people who are different from you, people who maybe are from a poor background or from a different ethnic group or nationality, and finding something that you really care about. Not everyone has to work with refugees, right? That there are enough problems in the world where people can find something they care about to work with. Maybe it's climate change. Maybe it's helping people who are struggling with high cost of living, things like that.
Yeah, like everybody has their own goals and objectives, so you fight your own and you go and fight it for them, something like this.
That's exactly right. I'm a big believer that there's no such thing as a one size fits all solution to anything or recommendation. I think people really should do what inspires them. So for me, I'm passionate about refugee issues, but for other people, it might be climate change. It might be all types of things. There are enough problems in the world for everyone to get involved with something, I think.
I would like you to give some advice to some colleagues of you that are from other NGOs, people you don't know, but are in the same situation as you, are also like a migrant in other countries and helping refugees or maybe other problems they trying to solve. Something to adapt much easier, or what they should do. Like first one, I got it. It's to push yourself to do something because it's needed.
Yeah.
maybe something else?
Well, I think just don't try to do everything all at once. It's very easy to burn out. I remember when I was here back in May, I really just jumped in and tried to do everything at once because I just felt this really strong belief that it's such a huge crisis that you have to really throw yourself at it completely. But I think you really, if you're here for the long term, which, I'm here for the next year at least, if you're here for that amount of time, you really need to pace yourself. And again, try to think strategically about what can you do that will actually help. What skills do you have that can be the most helpful? For back in May, I lifted a lot of boxes. I helped people carry their things, refugees carrying their things across the border. And I enjoyed that work quite a bit. But now that I'm here for a longer period of time, I found that teaching English is probably what will make the most impact given my skill set, more than doing that kind of physical labor might. And everyone has their own skill sets that they can appraise to find out what is most useful that they can offer.
I also think if you can't do something, it's okay, like to admit it and to search for something else. As you said, you have to force you because it's nothing but, yes, maybe you wanted to help people with something and you can't, you don't feel comfortable or you don't feel okay, but it's nothing to be ashamed of because I think everything has to be like, like okay portions, even like good things. Yeah, even sports is okay for your body, but if it's too much sports, it's already has to some problems. So everything has to be done in necessary quantity, so people don't get burned easily.
That's right. And for me, I would really love to do like data collection or write about people's experiences, and I still want to do some of that. But the fact of the matter is, like you were saying, acknowledging your shortcomings. I don't speak the language. I don't speak Russian. I don't speak Ukrainian. I barely speak Romanian. So, but I do speak English, and I'm able to teach. And so, just thinking about what are your limitations is really important. It's as important for sure as knowing what your strengths are.
Yes, it's for sure like this. So, Will, do you want us to tell something about your plans for the future?
Sure. Yeah. Well, so for the next year, I'll be here at least. I might be here longer than that, but eventually, I'm planning to get a PhD. I'd like to get a PhD in international development. I got my master's from Oxford. I'd really love to go back there for my PhD, or else maybe Cambridge, if I have the opportunity. But definitely in the UK. And then after that, I'd like to work for a larger kind of agency, maybe USAID, the American International Development Agency, or maybe somewhere with the UN. But I really want to work on the ground as much as I can, at least while I'm still relatively young. And then eventually I'd like to, once I'm older, teach. I'd like to be a professor and teach people based off my experiences. I'm really passionate about the idea of localization. That is, how agencies can work with local partners to empower them and to help them make their own decisions about how to help people in humanitarian crises. So I think I'll focus on that subject, both in practice and in my academic pursuits. Yeah.
Very nice. There is something for sure to be proud of, and we wish you good luck. And
Thank
we're
you.
sure that you will achieve everything, because as much as I know, you're a person that you put some objectives and you get them.
Well, thank you for saying that. Well, we'll see. We'll see. If it works out, that's great. And then if it doesn't, I've learned you just kind of have to accept what God gives you. So whatever happens, I'll be happy with.
Well, I have learned something. If it doesn't happen in that moment, that means we're not yet ready for it. It maybe has to pass some time, or maybe our mood or our psychological side, it's not ready to accept it. So I think everything happens with a reason.
Exactly. And I think that's right. And I think it's important, like we were talking about before, to know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and to build on your strengths and work on your weaknesses. So it's always a process. But yeah, well, and thank you so much for being able to speak with y'all. It's amazing. We just met on a train going to Bucharest, but here we are talking, and you keep on doing y'all's inspiring work, and letting the world know about different people's perspectives is so important. So.
Thank you. There is something else you would like to share with us?
Well, mostly I really I just want to say one more time about the Ukrainian situation. I think it's really important, if people are watching, to keep on thinking about ways you can help. I know I've just from the news and what I've heard that there was that initial push and frenzy almost to help in the first months, but it's been dying down somewhat, and that's pretty natural. I think that happens with a lot of these kind of humanitarian situations. But just remember that even as the war is going on, and even if the Ukrainian military is doing relatively well now, there's still a lot of people who are suffering. Average people are really having a hard time, and so just think about ways you can support those who really need it. Especially this winter, it's going to be really hard. So because Putin has destroyed all the infrastructure for winter, and that's part of their strategy. And really, I know Romanian people are very kind. They've been so welcoming to Ukrainians, and so I just really encourage y'all to keep on, being so selfless. It's inspiring to me to see.
Well, we got now that to the last thing I want to ask you. I'll ask you to give a message for everybody who will be asking us something you would like to tell everyone. What do you think, or what do you feel, or maybe you want to inspire somebody or to share something else? A message for everyone, so everybody will keep William's message.
Yeah, well, I think it's really important. I think it's really important that if you feel like what you're doing is not the right thing, if you're, and I'll just be, open about this. When I was younger, I had a lot of difficulty with depression, a lot of hard times with that. And I think that it's really important if you ever feel down, if you're ever uncertain about, what you're doing, why you're doing it, to think, is this the right thing for me to do? And so often we just do things because we think we have to, or because we've already invested time and energy into something. So why stop? But there's so many opportunities out there, so many things that need help. And I think the world would be a lot better off if people just follow their passion and they follow what, if people they do better when they do things they love. So for me, I've really found that with humanitarian work, with refugee work. I'm planning to make a career off of it. This is not something that I thought I would do 5-6 years ago, but I found that, yeah, really doing things that you love can make a world of difference. So I encourage people to do that.
Thank you very much. It's very impressive and inspiring, and because it's true, it's very different when somebody speaks from books or from movies or something when heard, but when it's like personal experience, it gives color to the words. It gives life because you listen and you live it. It's like you live that experience. Well, hearing you today, my message for everybody is like to be who you are, also to be happy with what you do, because life is too short and we have to enjoy it. I want to thank you, Will, once again that you accepted our invitation for today, that you were so open and you were sharing all your experience with us. And for sure, we'll have many projects soon together, at least having you as a guest.
Wonderful, Elena. Well, thank you so much. It's such a wonderful coincidence. You're in a sleeper car, you and Eddie in a sleeper car to Bucharest. So I love that. And yes, I'm more than happy. In any ways we can collaborate in the future, I'd be happy. And again, I have so much respect for the work that y'all do, and keep on doing it. I thank you for this opportunity to speak today.
Thank you very much. And these works also have some value because there are other people like you that also indirectly or directly put some efforts, and it goes on and on to other people. So this, you want to say something more?
No, I just agree. Yeah, I was just going to say absolutely. You never know what an action, what the consequences of any action will be. That's why it's so important to just do good work however you can.
Thank you. So today we finish here our episode. So thank you, William, once again.